And so I don't think any AI tool today
Mhm.
is capable of being a friend. And I think if it's pretending to be a friend, you're actually harming the person. It's going to make us need to be more sophisticated, even as, kind of everyday human beings, is what are the different kind of roles that people play in your life? I'm Reid Hoffman.
And I'm Aria Finger.
We want to know what happens if, in the future, everything breaks humanity's way.
With support from Stripe, we typically ask our guests for their outlook on the best possible future. But now, every other week, I get to ask Reid for his take.
This is possible.
Many people saw that Mark Zuckerberg recently doubled down on a vision in which users have AI companions who understand them in the way that their feed algorithms do. So Zuck noted that the average American has 3 friends or fewer, but has the capacity to have 15. And that makes me sad as a human. If people only have 3 friends, they want 15. Like, I really believe in the loneliness epidemic and the idea that sort of human connection is so critical. His solution is that personalized chatbots could fill that void. It's like they could be embedded across Meta's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Ray-Ban, Meta glasses, and this could be a solution to address this problem of social connection. So let's first talk about just the technology. What has to work, memory, voice, visuals, before these AI companions move from, a cool demo, something we're talking about, to something people actually interact with like they would, a friend on TikTok or Instagram?
Well, actually, in fact, I think this question is important enough that I'm actually going to start with the distinction between companions and friends, and then we can actually get into the
Great.
technology. Because I actually think it's extremely important that people understand the difference between companions and friends. And I think it's important whether, all social media platforms, Facebook, but and everything Facebook owns, but also LinkedIn and TikTok and YouTube and everybody actually understand that friendship is a two-directional relationship. And whereas companionship and many other kind of interactions are not necessarily two-directional.
Hmm.
They can be, but they're not necessarily. And I think that's extremely important because it's the kind of subtle erosion of humanity, human beings, to allow people to fall into that misunderstanding. And by the way, there's a lot of people who naturally would fall into it anyway because they think, well, friends are people who do good things for me. And that's so it's the you praise me, you tell me I'm great, you're there for me at 2 a.m. Friendship is you're there for me, right? And actually, in fact, that's a massive kind of like a diminishment of your own character, of your own soul. Friendship is a two-directional thing. It's not only are you there for me, but I am there for you. Now, you can have different theories about friendship. I mean, my own theory of friendship is two people agree to help each other become the best versions of themselves. And I think that's an extremely important thing. But by the way, not only is it important that you're receiving that help to be the best version of yourself, but the fact that you're giving that help to be
Hmm.
the best version of their self is also part of what makes you better. The kind of thing that's important in your own growth with friendship is you might show up at a lunch with a friend going, I'm planning on talking about this really terrible week that I've had. And, and I'm really looking forward to seeing my friend because they're going to help me with this. You sit down, your friend's like, oh, yeah, my mother died yesterday. And you're like, and we're going to talk about my friend.
Right.
Because
Right.
and that is precisely what is so important to be in friendship, to learn in friendship, and that kind of thing is very, very important. And so I don't think any AI tool today
Hmm.
is capable of being a friend. And I think if it's pretending to be a friend, you're actually harming the person in
Hmm.
so doing, and you should not. And this is the reason why inflections, Pi, when you say, hey, you're my best friend, says, no, no, I'm your companion, right? Hey, should we talk about your friends? Have you seen any of them? Can you see them? What's the thing? Because helping you go out into your world of friends is, I think, an extremely important thing
Hmm.
for companions to do. And by the way, that doesn't say that I don't think there is an important role for AI companions for, all people. I think AI companions can play a very fruitful human role for people. But the important thing is to be on that kind of like, what function are they playing? And it's extremely important for these companions to not be deceptive about what role they're playing. And I think that there's a whole set of theory. Now, by the way, once you get into the detail of that, like you say, okay, we trained a companion to be there for human being category X. We are trained for this category, and this is our theory of human nature, and this is our theory about how we contribute, and it should both be, to some degree, pre-advertised and also there at the drop of a hat when something strange might be coming. And so, like, I'm trained to be a therapeutic companion, and oh, by the way, you're going into a zone where I'm planning on selling you something. Well, I should be explicit about that. So now this gets us to the
Well, actually, Reed, just one question about that. So, I understand you're like, okay, companions, many uses, therapy, etc. These aren't good for friends to replace humans or even augment your sort of friend list. But what do we do? Because inevitably, these will become people's friends. There are gonna be some companies that are promoting AI friends. Is this just a public service campaign to tell people not to? Is this talking to the leaders of these AI companies? Is there government regulation? Like, what do we do now that you sort of disagree with that stance?
well, I think it's beholden upon, call it the experts, the influencers, and also, kind of the body politic to speak out on this, because
Mhm,
the question would be is like my sense would be is at minimum it'd be good to have an MPAA on
mhm.
this
Yep,
that kind of said, hey, people have to, like, here is where you have to be clear about what you're doing, and you have to be upfront before, and you have to have these intervention points. And if you say, hey, I'm signing up for MPAA, movie thing, PG-13, then this is what I do.
right. I know what I'm
Right?
gonna get.
Yeah, and what you're gonna get. And I think that's extremely important. And um obviously if there was such a, kind of a massive upswell of agreement with me on this, then it could enter into even a regulatory framework
Mhm,
if someone were abusing it. But
right.
I think I would start with kind of what you're doing. And like I said, I think there are people who disagree with me
Hmm.
about what the definition of friendship is, because, friendship is the entity that kisses my ass and tells me I'm great all the time, and that's what
Right,
friends are. My friends are people who kiss my ass. And it's like,
right,
okay, right, that could be your theory. I
right.
will never be your friend, right? But fine. This is the reason why, like, when I get into my theory of friendship, as it's like, actually, I think friendship is a skill, as well, not
Mhm.
just something nature. It's friendship is things where you have duties of loyalty, but it's actually loyalty to the better selves. It's like a set of different things that are not just you know, Aria, let me tell you how magnificent you are. Did I tell you how wonderful you are today? Or
This is
have I
okay, Reed. This sounds great to me.
yeah. And by the way, sometimes that is the role of a friend.
Right,
A friend shows up, kind of dragging, and you're like, I should buck him up some. Yes,
right,
of course,
right.
that is sometimes the role. But a friendship comes in and has been a complete asshole to somebody, right? Your role as a friend is not to say, oh, yeah, that person, they suck. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, your better self actually is better here. Right? And that is, in fact, actually part of the role of a friend. And so, people sometimes need to hear, like, hey, you're great. It's wonderful. And sometimes need to hear, no, no, you should actually consider changing. And that's actually
Right.
part of the role of friendship. Now, part of, I think, the broad space in companions, and I think this is one of the things that this whole new world of AI is going to make us need to be more sophisticated, even as, kind of everyday human beings, is what are the different kind of roles that people play in your life. And, like, for example, there are work friends, and then there are friends that you might talk about, like, oh, I'm having difficulty with my life partner or my child. One of the reasons why therapists are different than friends, and yes, friends can help with that, but like a therapist you can go talk to about, like, you kind of, oh, I'm having these really, like, like self-abnegating thoughts, because friends are just people, and a therapist is there to talk to you about, like, you might be sitting like, you can go into a therapist and say, I'm having fantasies about becoming a cannibal, right? And your therapist can talk to you about that. This is, I think, the kind of thing that is the reason why when we're going to be training, I think this literally like pantheon, this panoply of different kinds of AI companions. It's, well, what are they trained? What theory of human nature, of human being are they trained on? What theory to the human good are they trained for? And explicitly, where are they trained to be 100% on your side interacting with them, as opposed to saying, no, 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 abandon your human friends. No, no, you don't need any other human friends. You only need me because me, I'm going to be selling you stuff and I'm going to be drinking your time and I'm going to be putting ads in front of you. So, no, no, abandon your human friends. Talk only to me. I think that's a degradation of the quality of elevation of human life. And that should not be what it's doing. What's and it has to be explicit about this. And I think this will be very important to do, and I think we as a market should demand it. We as an industry, a la MPA, should standardize around it. And if there's confusion on this, I think we as government should say, hey, look, if you're not stepping up to this, we should do that, because I think that's like this is a super important thing. Now, let me get to a nuance that most people have not really tracked here, which is um, part of the wild, wild west of the internet is done on Section 230. But Section 230 protects human beings, and it protects the technologists for saying, hey, I'm facilitating, like when a human being gets on and starts saying anti-vax things, like that's the human being's responsibility, not the platform responsibility. That's the Section 230. And we could mod it some and so forth. But an AI agent is not a human being. It's not protected under Section 230. So you can tell that we haven't gotten to the point where like what are our protections going to be around AI agents? Because at the moment, it's all on the tech company that's providing it. Right. And by the way, I think we want to evolve that. So, for example, one of the reasons why I think which will really impede a medical companion is because, well, all this kind of medical liability stuff. And actually, in fact, we want to have medical companions, because medical companions like 24/7 at 2 in the morning on Saturday morning. Like, my choice is I go to the hospital if I have access to one. Well, okay. Like, it'd be great to start with it. Because, by the way, you talk to the companion, the companion says, get thee to a hospital right away. Doesn't matter if it's a 3-hour drive, go. Et cetera. Like, all of that's very good to have, but we'll have to sort out all of the liability issues and kind of safe harbor and all the other things around that.
Right. It's
Right.
about transparency,
Yeah.
accountability. Like, we need
Yes.
to know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yes.
And so when you think of the technology, like, do you think we're there right now, or what needs to progress until we get there for even AI companions, if not AI friends?
I think we're sufficiently there for a panoply of companions if just the kind of training and kind of meta prompt guardrails were kind of put in the right way, right? Like, it's kind of the, hey, I'm trained for this, right? And here's what you should expect from me relative to your good. It's going to, with rapidity, get better in months and months and months. It'll get better with memory and knowledge of you and what really helps you. And of course, the way that it can interact with you and being much more emotional and having judiciousness and having, like, for example, an agent who's cross-checking it. So when it says, you know, "Hey, I think you should get a second opinion," it goes, "Well, yeah, you can get a second opinion, but by the way, here's all the things that really matter in this." And like, not, in this case, second opinion could be good, but your doctor is giving you pretty good mainstream advice here.
So, Reed, you brought up a great point in your sort of overview of friendships versus companions, that you might have a different answer, or we might have different considerations when it comes to young people under the age of 18 and also senior citizens. So, when it comes to young people, Common Sense Media just came out with a report, and they have deemed companions unsafe for teens and younger under the age of 18. Yet at the same time, Google just announced its plan to roll out its AI chatbot Gemini for kids under 13. So obviously there's some nuance here. Like, what does a chatbot mean? What does a companion mean? Like, what exactly are we talking about when this AI is interacting with young people? But in general, sort of, what is your take? What are the pros and cons here? What should we be thinking about as we're rolling out these companions to young people under 18?
Well, so the very first thing I'm going to do, which will blow everyone's mind, is give a prediction that I'm near certainty about. And it's not just, of course, because I'm giving a prediction that has near certainty. That itself is, as you know, highly unique.
Hmm.
But also because I am quite certain about this, and we're about to be in it, which is in some small n number of years, it will start becoming typical that when your child is born, you also have an AI companion for them that goes with them through their entire life, or certainly their entire childhood, but probably their entire life. And what does that mean to have that companion doing that? How is that companion great for elevating the kid? Because obviously it can be a tutor and a joyful explorer of the world and all the rest, and there can be all of this really great stuff. But what does that mean with regard to the parenting relationship? And how does that companion relate to the parent? Because this parent wants a child to be raised Catholic, and that parent wants the child to be raised as a loyal New Yorker, and all of the rest of these things, and kind of like, what does that mean? And like, for example, of course, one of the things will be is the parent may select, I want the agent to tell the child, this is completely confidential. And oh, by the way, parent, we just had this conversation. So, like, where does this all play out is going to be really, really interesting and challenging. And of course, um, very, very legitimately, the parent's going to want to say, I am responsible for the child. So the companion is something that I have a very strong voice in. And by the way, we might even, as society say, well, yeah, you by the way have a strong voice from age 0 to X that's kind of unilateral to you, and then from age X to Y, new things apply that have some limitation. It's part of the reason why we have social workers. Like if someone's theory of parenting is beat the child, we as a modern society say no, not so much. That's not allowed. Right. And what is that nuance? And for example, does that then companion go, like, if a child's talking to their companion saying, well, and it's usually men, of course, that are physically abusive, but not always, right? If my parent is oh, my parent's beating me and da da da, does the companion have a job to call social work,
Hmm.
right? And say, wait, I have a problem. Right? We gotta do something. It's this really tangled thicket that's gonna cause us to confront a ton of issues, like seriously important. Now, obviously, the way that tech companies are gonna start is to try to start just very narrow scope.
Right.
Like I'm gonna try to stay out of the parenting lane altogether. I'm gonna try to take no responsibility. I'm gonna try to just be there as like a informal Wikipedia, generally say positive things and try to help you. If you go, oh, I'm really lonely, we're like, oh, let's try to help you not be lonely and so forth. But we're going to have all of these issues of, well, what is? Because now all of a sudden, tangibly, you have an agent that's in direct interaction with a kid. Well, who else is that agent accountable to? Accountable to the parents? Accountable to the school? Accountable to the society? And, we already have troubles with public schools, right? Like, are you allowed to teach, kind of scientific evolution, or, where does religion play a role in the schools? I mean, we have this, craziness, in the US of trying to like ban certain kinds of textbooks and other kinds of things. It's like, well, this is going to make that, a million X. I will confess to, it is such a tangled thicket that, when I started LinkedIn, it's like, no, no, 18 or older. where society judges people to be adults, that's where I'm going to play, because I precisely think it's nuanced. This is going to be very challenging ground because we can't even, like, there's huge things that we can't even agree on that I think are relatively straightforward.
Absolutely. I mean, Reed, I did not think you were going to say that prediction, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So here we are.
Possible is produced by Wonder Media Network. It's hosted by Aria Finger and me, Reed Hoffman. Our showrunner is Sean Young. Possible is produced by Katie Sanders, Edie Aller, Sarah Schleed, Vanessa Handy, Aaliyah Yates, Paloma Moreno Jimenez, and Malia Agudelo. Jenny Kaplan is our executive producer and editor.
Special thanks to Surya Yalamanchili, Saida Sapieva, Thanasi Delos, Ian Alice, Greg Beato, Parth Patel, and Ben Rellis.